Okay, here it is. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Maud, you can turn your camera off. And I'm going to share with you. We have a speaker. We are so lucky today to have ALLIE Van Fossen with us today. She is my yoga teacher, and she is actually in Florida, right?
Correct.
So she's my yoga teacher in Florida. I've never been with her in Florida. She runs an online yoga studio. And the way I found you, which is what I was going to tell, is I was following you when your business was Kearney Junkie. And I subscribed to the free lesson that you offered first, and I actually thought it said journal junkie. And I was like, oh, I do so much journaling. That's great. And I signed up, and then I started getting the chakra ones, and I was delightfully confused, but surprised and happy. And yeah, so that's how I found you several years ago, and then recently joined the Body Mind Soul Studio. So I hope you'll share all about that today. Tell us about your work history, your education, your path.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you guys are in your senior year, which is a huge accomplishment, and you're on the verge of this big transition, right? And a very exciting and also often overwhelming transition. And I know for myself, I was sharing with Kim as I was going off to college and being asked, what are you going to major in? What are you going to minor in? And you have to choose those subjects right then and there to sign up for your fall curriculum. And I was it was a very confusing time for me because I didn't have a clear picture of, I want to be X. My older sister, on the other hand, conversely, always knew she wanted to be a lawyer. And so she immediately went that track and knew then she would go into law school and et cetera, et cetera. Her career path would unfold. Meanwhile, I was like, I guess I'm outgoing from waitressing for so long, and I like fashion. I was in fashion marketing my senior year as well. And I was like, I'll choose marketing, I guess. And so that was what catapulted me into what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So let me start though and backtrack and take you back to high school. My earliest jobs were in the service industry, hospitality. As soon as I could work part-time, my first job was at Panera Bread, and I was cleaning the dining room and then the cashier and then making sandwiches. I also was a dishwasher, so you really fulfill every role. I then was a hostess for many years. I was a hostess at Hooters, which my dad wasn't too keen on. Also, it's seat yourself at that establishment. So the hostess role is a little bit strange. I was really there to smile and say, welcome to Hooters, seat yourself. From there, I then became a waitress once I turned 18. And then I continued to waitress all through college and then even into my first full-time position in a marketing role. And what waitressing afforded me and why I think it's an incredible first part-time gig is you learn so many soft skills as well as hard skills that are going to support you through your college career and then way beyond. And so some of those for me were clear communication, right? Being able to have confident conversations with all different types of people that sit down in front of you at your table, being able to manage your time effectively, organize yourself, work as a team, because as you guys know, when you go into a restaurant, and let me know in the chat if you guys do work in the service industry, I would love to know. Or if you work in retail, same thing, anything that's forward facing, right? Where you're having to interact with customers. So being able to organize myself, work on a team effectively. And then the biggest two things that really stand out to me that help me now in the role that I'm in as a CEO and founder of a multiple six-figure business in my young 30s is that I had to practice serious customer service skills because I wanted that tip. like I wanted a great tip. And I also had to practice sales. So I was always trying to upsell someone or sell something that was going to be an add-on, increase that ticket value, and again, hopefully increase my tip. So I worked in the service hospitality industry, like I said, from the time I was 15 years old all the way till about 24. So even through my first time full-time position, and I did that at night after my first full-time gig had ended. And so that really laid a solid foundation for me. And then I went into college. Like I shared with you guys, I chose that marketing, advertising, public relations, major minor combination. And it was really based on, I like fashion. I took a fashion course in high school. I'm outgoing. And I also was thinking to myself, maybe I'll move to New York City and work at a fashion marketing, corporation like Victoria's Secret at the time. I remember when I was in high school, I was like, maybe I'll do that and plan that yearly runway show. None of that happened, by the way. So went through my 4 years of college, continued to waitress as a part-time gig so that I had that side income to support myself and do things that were fun that my parents would not give me extra income for. And from college, I then went into my straight first full-time position. But I want to quickly pause and share with you some of my learning lessons and regrets from college, since that's the next big journey you're about to begin.
Yes.
Yeah. So coming out of high school, I was your quintessential status quo cool girl. All right. You could also have labeled me as a mean girl from that movie with Lindsay Lohan, or the cheerleader. So I'm sure you know who those people are at your school, and you might be one of them. If you are, there's nothing wrong with that, but I want to paint a picture of who I was in high school. I also definitely experimented with partying a bit too much, and I could have done better on some of my AP tests. That's a regret that I have. I didn't take it seriously enough. I could have opted out of so many of my gen eds, except I was like, I don't need to study. I'm too cool. And then what do you know? I had to repeat all those classes, and I paid for it with student loan debt.
Right.
Yeah. So my biggest regrets, though, were that going into college, I took that same mentality, that mindset of I'm a cool girl. And I really didn't take advantage of all of the amazing opportunities that are available to you. There are so many clubs and organizations on campus that you can get involved in. And I really subscribe to the I'm here, I'm going to get good grades. And I did get incredible grades. And aside from that, I'm going to find that cool girl crowd and keep partying. So if I could go back and rewind, I wish I would have dropped that mindset, dropped that mentality, and gotten so much more involved. Because all of those organizations and clubs, they lead to networking. They help develop all those skill sets I just shared with you that I built up through the service industry. And they also are going to help you meet so many incredible people, and you'll have so many long-lasting relationships with everyone that you meet and interact with in your college career. And then lastly, it opens up opportunities and resume building so that when you leave college, you've got this robust experience that you can take with you and also share. So I didn't do any of that. And I know that I shared before we started recording that I'm currently pregnant. I know I'll be pushing my daughter to take advantage of those opportunities on campus. So get involved. Don't think you're above it, and find ways to interact with the different organizations and clubs on campus, and get into ones that you might not be comfortable with, right? That get you out of your comfort zone, because being able to lean into discomfort is going to incredibly support you as you go into the quote unquote real world. So I graduated college and I got my first full-time marketing gig. I was working for an apartment complex, student housing, right across from my college, which was University of Central Florida in Orlando, Florida. And it was a great first-time marketing position. I very quickly was promoted, and I had a lot of responsibility, a really robust budget to manage, and was able to work with a team and learn a lot of interpersonal skills, management skills. And at the same time, though, I was definitely itching for travel and adventure. So being in the 9 to 5 world was quickly becoming unfulfilling, and being the manager of an apartment complex was definitely not my dream role, right? But it was paying off my student loans, it was paying my rent, and it was affording me to go out on the weekend with my girlfriends. So like 3 years into that role, my girlfriends and I were all pretty fed up with this 9 to 5 world we had entered into. And we took a sabbatical and moved to Florence, Italy for 6 months together. Time of my life. That's another regret, that I didn't study abroad in college. My parents were not experienced with travel. And so when I came to them about taking out more student loans to study abroad, it was a big no. And it was a no because they were really projecting their own fear onto me from never having left the country. So that's another regret I wish I would have done. And however, though, it motivated me at 24 to go on this incredible journey with my girlfriends. And so we traveled all through Europe, all through Italy extensively. And I got to meet this whole population of people who were building businesses online. At the time, you guys, there was no such thing as Instagram. Pinterest also didn't exist. And Facebook, you couldn't be on Facebook unless you had a .edu email address. So it was closed only to people in college. So I want to paint a picture for you of the social media landscape. Everyone was blogging, and YouTube was like kind of sort of becoming known, but still not popular, right, and not a common thing that we went to and searched for and watched entertainment on. So came back from that Italy trip and I said, I have to become a blogger. I have to build an online business. It didn't happen overnight. I then worked in the corporate marketing world for another 5 to 6 years. And simultaneously in those final 2 roles of my corporate career, I became a yoga teacher, and I started teaching in studio after work and on the weekends. And I also started building a side hustle. Some of you might know that term. It's where you're doing one thing, and that one thing is providing your steady paycheck. And at the same time, you're building a passion project, right? Something that you would hope can be your full-time role in the future. And so, as I'm sure you can guess by now, that is what ended up happening. I worked really hard outside of my full-time gig to build an online yoga business. And so now my role is leading, I'm the founder and the CEO of the Journey Junkie, which is an online yoga business that serves people who want to practice holistic yoga from the comfort of their home. And I teach for free on YouTube. I have over 100,000 YouTube subscribers. And I also teach and lead an online yoga studio, which your teacher Kim is part of. And there we have over 1,000 studio members. We have our own custom app. I have a team of 3 employees. We also lead in-person yoga retreats when the world is not navigating a pandemic like COVID. And I'm getting ready to continue to build my business with new offerings, trainings, and programs. And I now make like triple the salary I made back when I was in corporate marketing. So it's proof that we can do hard things. We can navigate discomfort and difficulty and design the life that we really want and desire for ourselves, right? But all of this, I never knew would happen when I was going into college or graduating college or going into my first time full-time marketing position. Okay. So that is what I do now. And it is the work that I absolutely love doing. I feel like my life is full of meaning and purpose and fulfillment. And I get to design my life, which is something that's really important to me. I've also, like I said, been able to travel quite extensively. And just recently, something really cool is pre-COVID, my husband and I sold everything, packed up, and we went and sailed the world for 2 years together. So we got to
Woo!
we got to travel through the whole Caribbean, go through the Panama Canal, go to the Galapagos, cross the Pacific, and into all of the South Pacific islands. And so now we're back and continuing to build the business, but this online business supported our travels. So there's 3 big takeaways I want you to know from my story. And that is, number 1, work hard. Okay, working hard will benefit your future self. Number 2, believe in yourself. So Kim knows I talk about this quite often. There's these 2 voices in our head. We have an inner critic who is constantly tearing us down. And this inner critic is our less evolved, insecure, very self-preoccupied voice, right? I'm sure a lot of you know the inner critic well. We then have this other version called the inner mentor, and it's our future, wiser, older self that's incredibly confident, and they can give us so much wisdom about our current situations and challenges and the future path that we're wanting to pursue. And so when I say believe in yourself, is I want you to prioritize your inner mentor, that voice that you can call upon, over the inner critic, okay? And lastly, I want you to trust the process. So the path is not linear. It is not a straightforward line, especially when you're wanting to really live a fulfilling, meaningful, purposeful life. You know, I really love that my work is my life and my life is my work, and they really cross over and complement one another. So know that the path is circular. It's so messy. Like, it's the messiest thing ever. And we just need to normalize this, right? And be okay with the fact that it's not linear. It's not straightforward. We will make so many mistakes. And I like to really say that failure is the foundation, and success comes when we fail forward, right? So by failing forward, we learn a lot about ourselves, and we learn how to up level the next time we go for it. Yeah, great question. Kim, does that really cover the
Yeah, thank you
gamut of?
so much. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll pull out the questions from the students. Students, go ahead and add your questions to the chat. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can add questions below and we can see if we can get them answered too. All right,
Yeah.
so I have a lot of questions. What made you only want to do an online studio? What sparked that
Yeah.
and not
So
in person?
I was working full time, 50 hours a week, and teaching in the yoga studio at night and teaching on the weekends. And I was observing my yoga teacher peers, the ones that were doing it quote unquote full time, and they were running around like chickens. They were
Mm,
burnt out. They didn't have enough income. They didn't have stability. And I really wanted to transition out of the corporate world. Yeah, I knew it was what I wanted. Now, there's nothing wrong with corporate. My husband is an engineer and he loves his corporate career. He likes the structure. He likes reporting to an office. He likes that dynamic, right? All of us are different. I'm sharing my specific, unique journey. So as I was observing these other yoga teachers, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get out of corporate anytime soon. They were also making about half the salary I was making at the time, which at the time was around like $45,000 annually, like 45 to 55,000. And these yoga teachers I were meeting were making somewhere in the 20s. Like, that is just so unsustainable. You cannot support yourself. And you guys are in California, so you're in a totally different
right.
pricing bracket. And so I immediately knew, how can I make this sustainable? How can I make it viable? And how can I reach more people without having to work at 7 different yoga studios, right? And
Right.
so the answer was get online. And I first started blogging, and then I worked up the courage to get on YouTube. And it was just a slow incremental process. Then I worked up the courage to create a paid offering. And that first paid program, you guys, I launched a 21-day yoga program, and I sold it for 3 weeks. And in those 3 weeks, I made more than my entire annual marketing salary.
Wow.
So I
So you
brought in
knew.
$70,000 in revenue, about, I think, 55K in profit. And I was like, oh my God, I just made my whole salary. I have a business.
This is a clear, right. And someone asked, how do we know when to take a pass? So that kind of relates to what you just said. You had some really clear validation immediately, huh?
Yeah. So I really want to express that this was not an overnight project. I was blogging for about a year, learning the online landscape, gaining website visitors, right? Building traffic or building an audience of people that wanted to hear from me. Then I was building my YouTube channel for another year. So now we're 2 years into this online journey, and I consistently published a new yoga class, excuse me, every single week. And you can go to YouTube and find me. It's The Journey Junkie, and you'll see all of the yoga classes that are available there. And so for a whole year, I showed up with a free yoga class, really building authority, expertise, and trust. So letting my customers and viewers know you can trust me, and I'm worth your investment. And so you'll get to a place, if you go into this path of entrepreneurship, where the feedback will be coming in and you'll be receiving a lot of positive feedback, affirming feedback, and it's going to give you those breadcrumbs, those signs like, okay, it's time to put a price on your work and really value your worth, because we can't work for free. It's not sustainable either. As much as I'm sure the world would love for everything to be free, it's just not possible. And so you'll start to feel that shift in yourself. Trust me, you will, and it'll be really scary. And I want you to go for it anyway.
Hmm. Um, Here's a good question. How have you promoted or advertised your online yoga studio? We just did a
Yes.
whole unit on digital marketing where we talked about ADA and the customer journey, and then also working with different influencers and amplifying the content.
Yeah. Again, my blog started pre-Instagram, so different landscape. However, a lot of it is still applicable. So the number one thing I want to share is consistency is key, because when we're working in the digital landscape, we're not able to be together face to face. There is a barrier of trust. And so how we build trust online is through consistency and showing up on an ongoing basis so that people know, okay, this person is legitimate, right? They're worthy of my investment. So number one, I always say consistency is key. I have been sending out a weekly email to my audience for at least 5 years, right? I've taken breaks from YouTube content creation, but I have never or rarely have I taken a break from connecting with my community and my audience and my customers. So consistency is key. The second huge tool is email marketing. So while social media is great for exposure and getting eyeballs on you or your product or your service or your company, if you're working for a company where you're trying to market their services and products, social media is great for exposure. But still, email is king. Email is how we get into people's phones very easily, and we have a one-on-one conversation. It's a very personal conversation, whereas social media, it's one to many. And we also are competing with people's attention spans, right? We all know that with all of the different social media platforms now, everyone's attention span is getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And so that competition is serious. It's brutal. And so email is a way for us to land in people's inboxes and have a very intimate conversation. And it's our number one sales tactic. Okay. After that, we really leverage social media advertising. So we invest heavily in Facebook and Instagram advertising. Another tool we use is Pinterest. Pinterest is like a search engine. So unlike Instagram or Facebook that are pure social media, they want you to be social. Pinterest is like a Google or a YouTube where it's a search engine. And so we leverage that platform. And then our biggest platform is YouTube. And I love YouTube because A, you're developing that relationship by being on camera. People get to see your face, hear your voice. It builds that level of trust even more. And also it's a search engine. So as you guys know, when you go to YouTube, you type something in because you're searching for an answer, and all of the, results populate. And that's all based on keywords and using search engine optimization strategies. And so that's a huge way that people find me as well. Like Kim, I think you found me. Did you find me on
Probably,
YouTube?
I want to say Facebook
Okay, great.
because I was only on Facebook. It's been that long ago. It's been several years. I wasn't
Yeah.
on YouTube like I am now constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly YouTube obsessed.
I
And
see this
also I
one
do
great
use
question in here
Pinterest.
about how do I schedule my day to day?
Yes. So what's your like general, yeah. That's what a lot of students are always wondering about work. Like, what do you do all day? And is it hard for you to take time off in that too?
Yes, yes, and yes. So working for yourself is much more difficult than reporting into a company, because a company has certain expectations. You need to be there at X time, you leave at X time, and your boss is usually nearby. So while there's room for, browsing the web, scanning your phone, there's not that much wiggle room. The expectation is very clear of what you need to be working towards and accomplishing. Working for yourself is quite different in that self-discipline really comes into the picture, and you're setting your own goals and you're working towards your own markers of success. And you need to definitely be able to motivate yourself and really tap into that intrinsic motivation. Now, there are days where it's really missing for me, and I've learned, hey, I'm my own boss, and so I don't have to beat myself up, and I can take a day off, right? I can't do that every day. I can also work 3 hours some days and 9 hours the next day. So it's really nice because I get to design my schedule, which is, again, something that's really valuable and important to me, but on a day-to-day basis, roughly. Okay. So I like to start my day with some type of mindfulness practice, whether it's going for a walk, listening to a podcast, brief meditation, yoga class. I like to write in my gratitude journal, make myself a hearty breakfast, drink a cup of coffee. And I'd say I typically start my workday between 9 or 10 a.m. I also don't have to get ready, which is really nice. You don't miss wearing pencil skirts and high heels. And then I am working towards whatever my top 3 goals are. So to zoom out for you, I like to set quarterly goals. So bigger projects that I'm trying to pursue and make progress towards and complete. That doesn't always happen. And then from those quarterly goals, I plan out week by week what I need to do to achieve those goals. I call this sprint mapping. So we take this larger project that feels quite overwhelming and all consuming, and we break it down action item by action item and reverse engineer it. And then I look at my quarter, which is a 3-month time span, and I say, what do I need to do each week to complete this project? And so I have literally all 3 months planned out for myself. And then I'm transferring it over into a planner. You could also use, Google Calendar or whatever your software system of choice is. And so on Sunday, I look at that list and I'm like, okay, these are my big things I'm trying to work towards. And then I even break them down further and say, what am I going to do day to day? So it's a very systematic approach to making projects feel manageable, because I find that the biggest place I spin or don't make progress is when I feel overwhelmed, right? I'm sure you guys have experienced that with your high school homework.
Yeah.
And projects. Overwhelm leads to procrastination and not taking any action. So I'm very meticulous in planning out my days. And my husband, who's a project manager in the construction engineering industry, gave me the tip to work towards 3 goals a day. And then if you complete those 3 important things, then you can go to some of the smaller tasks. But if you get those 3 things done, pat on the back, you're good.
All right, let's go to a couple more questions. When you had a full-time job and a side hustle, were there times when you felt drained? How did you deal with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, However, in your young 20s, you've got a lot of energetic capacity. I also didn't have children. And so I really squeezed the nectar out of my 20s, right? You know, I definitely worked late into the night. I would wake up at like 5 in the morning before my full-time gig. I would use my lunch break. I also was working on it. My boss wasn't looking. And my weekends. Yeah, absolutely. Every weekend I was filming YouTube classes for many years because I needed light, right? Like the sunshine had to be shining into my home for good lighting. And I was working 9 to 6. So that took all of the light away during Monday through Friday. So the way I dealt with it, the drain is I still practiced yoga regularly. And so that is like a healing balm or ointment to care for yourself, not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally when you're on that journey of trying to build a side hustle into a full-time business. And I made sure to still have fun, right? Like I live in Florida, you guys live in California. So go to the beach, watch the sunset, meet up with friends, you know, do things that still fulfilled me and made me feel like a person, not like a computer robot. So really scheduling that time. And that's also really important for me now as far as I am into my business. When I don't make time for fun, I start to resent my work and I don't want to do it. Right. So fun is really like the grease for productivity and success.
I think it's amazing how you had this obsession early on and it's really lasted and you've been able to evolve it and change it. I really appreciate that.
And now you
Um,
guys, I have a team that I don't have to do a lot of the admin tasks that suck that I had to do in the beginning because I couldn't afford any help. And because I kept at it and kept at it, even through a lot of failures and mistakes, and also just a lot of tears, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm at a point now where I have a small yet mighty team. And so the things I don't want to do, I don't have to do anymore. And it's incredible.
yeah, that is. How about future goals?
Yeah,
What do you
so
want to do
future
next?
goals. Future goals are I want to build an online yoga teacher training program. So when you become a yoga teacher, you take a 200-hour teacher training. And it's really what catapulted my whole business. You know, I was practicing yoga for a few years. I loved it so much. I wanted to really study it and deepen my practice. And becoming a yoga teacher was the springboard for everything I've told you thus far. And so I want to be able to facilitate that process for other people. And it'll probably take me about a year to build the program because I want to have guest teachers. I also love polished professional work. So knowing, and I also am a slow cooker. So I'm someone who moves slowly. I percolate at a really low temperature. And so I also am learning my work tendencies, and I'm not someone who moves super fast. So I'm going to give myself a year to build this program in 2022. That's my big goal. And that'll be a really incredible training that I can offer, but also a great revenue stream because once it's all filmed and produced, it's what's called evergreen. So like an evergreen tree that always stays green, even in the coldest winters. Once you have something built like that, you can continue to sell it and recycle it and use it over and over. So there is this huge amount of effort to get it created, but then we can repurpose it and recycle it. And it'll be priced around $3,000. So it's also good for my business because we don't have any really high ticket programs that we're selling right now. And so it'll be a great way to increase revenue and also for me to up level myself too and step into
Big
a
time.
teacher trainer role.
Big time. That's a huge program
Yeah.
to offer. So I appreciate that you're taking the time to make it quality. We
Yeah.
learned about evergreen content in class. We went over all the different types of content.
Oh,
Um,
good. Evergreen content is gold.
yeah,
So,
I'm gonna pop off with a couple quick questions. What are
okay.
you reading right now?
Oh, I am reading The Seat of the Soul by
Right.
Gary Zukav and also How to Be Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi.
Yes. What are you eating right now?
I just made a bowl of pasta with zucchini.
And what are you watching right now?
Oh, I'm gonna watch the second season of Who Killed Sarah on Netflix.
All right, I'm a little, I don't, it makes me nervous. I've been watching that Lucifer show. It's
I
really good.
binged the first season all in one night and stayed up till like 4 a.m. like a maniac. And
That's how we do
now the
Netflix.
second season's
Yeah,
live. And I'm also waiting for the next Outlander. I'm waiting for a lot of stuff on
love
Netflix.
Outlander. And cryptocurrency, yes or no?
I wish I would have said yes many years ago. I'm definitely, me and my husband are kicking ourselves in the butt for that one.
I believe it. Do you have any networking advice, talking to people for these students?
Yes. Um, Huge benefits from networking, huge benefits. Again, it's one of my bigger regrets. I didn't prioritize it in college. And then I also didn't prioritize it in my first few careers. Wherever you land with your first full-time gig, I really, really encourage you to find a local chapter that's connected to your career and participate because it's all about who you know, right? And
Connecting, yeah.
people lead you to people that you would never expect to meet or interact with. And I know you guys have heard that and it sounds status quo, and there's a reason it's cliche, and it's because it's true. So face your fears and get out there and network.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I think you've given us so many gems, not just the esoteric and about the inside stuff, but really practical business direction. Thank you so much, Allie.
Yeah, thanks for having me, everyone, and good luck with transitioning into college.